They say rock bottom has a basement. I found mine on a frozen Tuesday in November, standing outside a pawn shop with $40 in my pocket and 27 years of marriage dissolved in a single signature. My name is Elena Vance. For 3 decades, I was the perfect wife. I hosted the dinners, I ironed the shirts, I smoothed over the rough edges of Richard's life until he shone like a diamond. And how did he repay me? He replaced me. Not with a better woman, but with a younger one. A 24-year-old assistant who didn't know how he took his coffee but knew exactly how to spend his money. When the lawyers were finished, Richard had the house, the cars, and the portfolio. I had a suitcase, a devastating sense of worthlessness, and a one-way ticket to a city where I knew no one. I didn't know it then, standing in the snow, but the worst moment of my life was actually the beginning of a miracle. And the man who would save me wasn't a knight in shining armor. He was a shivering stranger who looked even more broken than I was. The divorce proceedings took 15 minutes. Richard didn't even look at me. He checked his watch 3 times, tapping his foot as if ending our life together was making him late for a tea time. His lawyer, a shark in a 3-piece suit, slid the papers across the mahogany table. Sign here, Miss Vance. And here. This concludes your claim to the marital assets. My hand shook as I wrote Elena Vance. It felt like a forgery. For 27 years, I had been Mrs. Richard Sterling. Without that title, I felt like a ghost. Richard walked out without a word. No goodbye, no, I'm sorry, just the click of the door latch sealing my fate. I drove my rusting sedan to a pawn shop on the edge of town. The neon sign buzzed overhead, casting a sickly red light on the snow. I took off my wedding ring, 2 carats, vintage cut, the only thing of value I had left. The broker didn't care about the memories attached to it. He didn't care about the vows. He weighed it, squinted at it, and slid $800 across the glass counter. Take it or leave it, lady. I took it. That ring was supposed to mean forever. In the end, it was worth a train ticket to Chicago and a few nights in a cheap motel. The train station was a cavern of echoes and cold drafts. A blizzard had grounded all flights, pushing everyone onto the rails. The air smelled of diesel and wet wool. I sat on a wooden bench, clutching my purse to my chest. I had exactly $11 left after buying my ticket. $11 to start a new life at 52 years old. That's when I saw him. He was sitting 3 benches away, huddled inside a coat that was little more than rags. His shoes were wrapped in plastic bags to keep out the slush. He was shaking, a violent, bone-deep shiver that I could feel from across the aisle. People walked past him like he was invisible. They adjusted their scarves, checked their phones, and looked everywhere but at the human being freezing to death in plain sight. I looked at the $10 bill in my hand. It was my breakfast. It was my safety net. It was everything. But then I looked at his hands, red and raw, rubbing together for friction. I remembered how it felt to be invisible. Richard had made me feel that way for years. I can't save myself, I thought. But maybe I can make this night bearable for him. I walked over. My heels clicked on the cold tile. Excuse me, sir. He jumped, looking up with eyes that were startled and weary. I'm not asking for money, ma'am. I'm just waiting. I know, I said softly. But you look freezing. Have you eaten today? He lowered his gaze, ashamed. Not for a day or 2. But I'm fine. I reached out and pressed the $10 bill into his trembling palm. There's a coffee cart open near platform 4. Please, get something hot. Soup, coffee, whatever you need. He looked at the money, then at me. His eyes welled up. Ma'am, I can't take this. You don't look like you have much to spare. I smiled, a sad, broken thing. We're in the same boat, then. Please. It would make me feel better to know someone is warm tonight. He held my gaze for a long second, a flash of something sharp and intelligent passing through his eyes. Thank you, he whispered. You have a kind soul. Don't ever lose that. I watched him limp away toward the coffee cart. I was hungry, tired, and penniless. But for the first time in months, I didn't feel poor. The wind off the lake felt like knives. I had no plan. I wandered the streets for hours until my toes went numb. Finally, I swallowed my pride and found a women's shelter, the Harbor Light. The intake process was humiliating but necessary. I traded my freedom for a cot in a room with 40 other women. First time, the woman in the next bunk asked. Her name was Sarah. She had a bruise on her cheek and a smile that lit up the room. Yes, I whispered. You'll survive, she said. We're tougher than we look. For 3 days, I lived the reality of the forgotten. I ate watery oatmeal. I slept with my purse under my head. I listened to women cry in their sleep. But I also saw strength. I saw women sharing shampoo, holding hands during nightmares, building a community out of nothing. On the third morning, a hush fell over the shelter. The heavy metal doors swung open, and the director walked in, looking flustered. Behind her walked a man in a chauffeur's uniform. Is there an Elena Vance here? The driver asked. The room went silent. I sat up on my cot, my heart hammering. I am Elena. The driver bowed his head slightly. Mrs. Vance, please come with me. Mr. Arthur Sterling requests your presence. Who? I asked, confused. The man you met at the train station, he replied. I looked down at my worn clothes. I don't understand. Please, ma'am. The car is outside. I followed him out. Parked at the curb, shining like a black diamond against the gray slush, was a Rolls-Royce. The driver opened the door, and I stepped into a world of warmth and soft leather. 30 minutes later, we pulled up to a sprawling estate on the Gold Coast. The front door opened, and there he was. The homeless man. But he wasn't wearing rags. He was wearing a cashmere sweater and tailored slacks. He was clean-shaven, standing tall, radiating authority. Welcome, Elena, he said, extending a hand. I'm Arthur Sterling. I stood in his grand foyer, speechless. You were freezing. You were hungry. I was grieving, he corrected gently. My wife passed away a year ago. She believed that humanity was inherently good. After she died, I fell into a dark place. I believed the world was selfish. So, every year on her birthday, I test that theory. I go out with nothing. I see who stops. He stepped closer, his eyes intense. Hundreds of people passed me that night, Elena. You were the only one who stopped. And my driver told me you used your last $10 to do it. I felt tears prick my eyes. I didn't have anything else to give. You gave everything, Arthur said. And now, I want to give you something. I run the Sterling Foundation. We help women get back on their feet. I need a director who understands what it feels like to be at the bottom but still chooses kindness. The salary is $200,000 a year, plus housing. He paused. Will you help me change lives, Elena? I didn't just take the job. I became the job. For 2 years, I poured my soul into the Sterling Foundation. We built new shelters. We started scholarship programs. I wasn't just Richard's ex-wife anymore. I was Elena Vance, a woman who moved mountains. Arthur became my mentor, then my friend. He gave me autonomy, respect, and a voice, things Richard had stolen decades ago. Then came the day the past came knocking. My assistant buzzed my intercom. "Miss Vance. There's a man here to see you. He says it's urgent. A Mr. Richard Sterling. No relation to Arthur, just a cruel irony of names." My blood ran cold. "Send him in." When Richard walked into my glass-walled office, he stopped dead. He looked terrible. His suit was wrinkled. His face was puffy, his eyes red-rimmed. He looked at me, sitting behind a mahogany desk, wearing a tailored Italian suit, and his jaw dropped. "Elena." "Hello, Richard," I said, not rising from my chair. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" He slumped into the guest chair. I made a mistake, Elena. A huge mistake." "Which one?" I asked coolly. "The affair? The theft? Or the abandonment?" "She took everything," he whispered, his voice cracking. "The girl, the assistant. She cleaned out the accounts and left me for a tech developer in Silicon Valley. I lost the house. I lost the firm. I have nothing." He looked up at me, eyes pleading. "I heard you were doing well. I thought, maybe we could try again. We had 27 years, Elena. You're the only one who ever really understood me." I looked at this man, this small, selfish man who had left me to die in the snow. I remembered the pawn shop. I remembered the shelter cot. And then I realized, I didn't hate him. I didn't feel anything for him. He was a stranger. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out over the city I now helped rule. "Richard," I said softly. "The woman you married died in a pawn shop 2 years ago. I am not her. But Elena, I have nowhere to go." I turned back to him. "Then I suggest you go to the train station. Sit on a bench. And hope that someone is kind enough to give you $10. I pressed the intercom button. "Security. Please escort my guest out." Part 5. The reflection that night. I stood on the balcony of my penthouse, the city lights glittering like diamonds below. Arthur joined me, handing me a glass of champagne. "Was it hard?" he asked. "Sending him away?" "No," I smiled. "It was the easiest thing I've ever done." I looked at the stars. I thought about the $10 bill that started it all. Most people think revenge is loud. They think it's screaming and lawsuits and destruction. But they're wrong. True revenge is being so happy, so successful, and so complete, that the person who broke you no longer fits in your universe. I didn't destroy Richard. I simply outgrew him. If you are listening to this, and you feel like you've lost everything, remember this: your value is not in your bank account, and it is certainly not in the hands of someone who doesn't love you. Rock bottom is solid ground. It's the perfect place to build a foundation. Be kind. Be brave. And never, ever let them see you shiver.